Hi, I'm Mike Miller. This is my wife, Marie Miller. And we've had a pretty incredible year. About a year ago, I had decided to have weight loss surgery because I had tried over the years to do it on my own, and I'd lose some and I'd gain some. And I went to my first meeting about it, and it came off to me more like a ShamWow commercial. So I was skeptical and I let it go. I'm not going to do this. Well, this past April, well, actually beginning of the year, I said, no, I'm going to do something. And I selected gastric sleeve surgery, which is where they don't change your internal plumbing at all. They just cut away 3/4 of your stomach, and you adapt to that. Well, the surgery appeared to go well. There didn't appear to be any complications. 2 days later, I was out dancing in the hallway with a couple nurses, real happy. I didn't hurt. And then we found out from one of the nurses or the doctors that my white blood count was rather abnormal and increasing. So they looked into it and decided they had to do a CAT scan. And the people who run the CAT scan department looked at my original weight rather than what my weight was at this time and said, he won't fit in the CAT scan machine. So they arranged for me to go to the Cleveland Clinic. And at that point, our life kind of fell apart. They did a CAT scan and found that my stomach was leaking, and I had some internal abscess. I guess I acquired the infection from hell. And at that point, things started to get pretty sketchy for me. I had lots of tubes and needles and holes and drugs. And it'd just be a good point for Marie to carry on because she still knew what was going on. She could watch.
I was there every step of the way with him.
Yeah.
And after we got to Cleveland, the care was excellent, the facility was excellent, but it was just one thing after another.
Things kept going wrong.
The infection just was overwhelming. It was starting to cause problems with his lungs. His one lung collapsed.
Then filled with fluid.
Filled with fluid. They had him on respirator for quite some time. They had him on a lot of pain medicine and a lot of just kind of kept him doped up so that he didn't have to face what was happening to him. They had a problem with his kidneys starting to shut down. They had to do surgery for putting in these drains.
And stents.
And stents. Yeah. The stents were in the stomach. That was to stop the leaking, and all this time, he's on just basically IVs, no liquids, or just a little bit when I could get him to
and
take
what
a
was
little bit of water.
Kind of weird was I had weight loss surgery, of course, and my stomach's now 1/4 of the size it's supposed to be. And they want me to try to eat stuff. Plus they have bags of protein that they're feeding into me, so the whole time I'm just way over full.
But this goes back before even that point where he had 3 drains, 2 in the front, 1 in the back, to help drain this infection. that was getting so bad, and they didn't know for sure what it was going to be from day to day. Every day seemed to be something else, and we work with things as they happened, and I think that the way that the doctors worked in Cleveland was good. They came around every day, a group of them, and discussed each patient in the intensive care. Mike was in intensive care most of the time that he was at Cleveland, which totaled 6 weeks the first time and a little over a week the second time. During the first 6 weeks that he was there, though, is when all this extra stuff started to kind of come about. The one infection that he had was not treatable by antibiotics. So they had to drain it. That's where the drains came in. After the point where the stomach seemed like it was doing well, they went in and removed one of the stents, but they had to leave the other stent in yet because it wasn't quite where they needed it to be. They were very thorough, but they were very much, I didn't have any real choices as far as what they were going to do. I had to give permission, but there was no real choices because he was in very, very extremely serious condition. They weren't sure that he was going to survive it. At one point, they went down for a minor thing that had to be done in the operating room, and when he came back to the room, he was fine, he was doing well. The next thing you know, I went down for a sandwich and came back because they had called me and said, you need to get back here right away, something's going on. And he was throwing up blood. He looked scared to death, and they didn't want me to go in, and I said, no, I have to go in. I have to let him know that I'm here for him, and that's kind of the way every day was, just something different every day. The family has been very supportive through all this, but I'll tell you, this has been way more than either one of us ever anticipated. Mike's been to hell and back, and thank God he's been allowed to come back.
He actually died one night, didn't he?
He actually did, yes. They had to put a trach in.
Which I'm glad is really out, is out, because I didn't want to have to go the rest of my life with a trach.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't sing anymore. Oh.
But it was in, because originally they had a trach tube that went down through the throat, through the mouth, down the throat. And they worked with that, but that can only stay in for a certain amount of time. And then at that time, he wasn't ready to be off of help, respiratory help. So they decided that was the best next step. So they put a trach in, right in here, and had him, they were able to suction some of this infection and stuff out of him that was settling in into his stomach area, around his spleen. The abscess was near his spleen, and his lung area. He would cough and choke and gag because they would stick something down through this tube to get it to come up so that he could get rid of it. It would come right out the tube, but at the same time, it would get caught in the tube, and that's what happened the one particular night, is that this drainage got caught in the tube, and he couldn't get any air. And as he was trying to breathe in and cough, it just caught him, and he stopped breathing. And his eyes went back, and he pretty much was gone. They moved very quickly and took care of that. That was very traumatic experience
To say the least.
for the family. To say the least. It's hard enough when somebody you love so much and you share everything with day by day has problems, but to go and watch that person die in front of you, it's a feeling that you can't even begin to explain to somebody who's never been through it. And all I could do was pray. And my cousin was there with me at the time, and she helped me get through that. I said, please tell me that God's not going to let this happen, that he's not going to take him away from me. Not now. It's too soon. And she said, I can't promise you anything. That's up to God. And I said, I know. And that made a big change in my approach with my faith, and definitely did some heavy duty praying. And at that point, things seemed to change for him.
I couldn't believe the amount of prayers sent our way on Facebook.
And people all over
All over the country, I was one of them.
Yeah, all over the country had started these prayer chains, and they were getting back to us by way of his Facebook page. And that was so heartwarming and encouraging. And
You didn't know I knew that many people, huh?
well, I didn't know you were that famous, honestly. But I have to say that that's what got me through. And finally, at some point, things started to turn around then and look a little better. The test results started coming back a little better. I think total, he had to have like 18 units of blood total the whole time that he was there. I can't remember how much blood he had at UPMC Hammett, but he had some there as well. When we left Cleveland,
We went back to Hammett.
we had to go back to Hammett. We were there, I can't remember exactly how long now, but a little short while, and then went to Select Specialty Hospital. We were at Select Specialty for
A
a
month.
month.
Then they sent us back to Cleveland
Back to Cleveland
to have the stents removed.
to have the stents removed.
Or
So why
replaced.
couldn't they do that here at Hammond?
Well, this doctor that that did the stent operation to start with, to begin with, is one of like 4 in the country that knows how to do this properly. And his doctor here in Erie felt that if we had to go there anyway for the CAT scan, because they had the machines that were large enough.
This doctor looked like he was about 17, but he knew his
Well,
stuff.
He was one of 4, I believe, in the country that knows how to do this and do it without complications. So the doctor here felt that it was best that we go there anyway and have him do it. And then at that point, he was the one that had to remove the stents as well. So,
That's about a $3,000 cab ride.
Yeah.
exactly, one way. Of which the insurance paid like $600. Anyway, we did go back for that. We were supposed to be there 2 days. But it turned out being the 4th of July weekend, and nobody was available in the offices to get us back to Erie. So we were there a total of 8 days before they could actually get us back to Erie. At which point he was taken right back to Select Specialty Hospital. They worked with him there, continued to,
That was for the month and a half.
yeah.
Now, at that point, my insurance company said, well, you've been there long enough and we don't cover anymore and you need to go to another place for rehab, which is now where I am, Twinbrook. And the rehab department here is wonderful.
Yeah, oh yeah, and they're working with him, his outlook is good now, and he's dropped a lot of weight, obviously because of all of this. I mean, he just finally started a month or so ago to be able to eat food. Up until that time, he was 3 or 4 months just on liquids.
Yeah.
So how many, just to remind anybody that's watching this all started with a simple everyday procedure that they led you to believe is we've got this down, we've done it
Yeah.
a million
Right.
times.
And they warned us, you know, they
There are
warned
some
us.
complications
Yep.
at times,
Yeah.
Right.
but
And the
90%.
larger the person is, the more chance of complications, and the more chance that those complications are going to be extreme.
I'm the poster boy for it now.
So, but then my next question, how many procedures, how many surgeries since then? I mean, from just following you on Facebook, it's got to be almost a dozen. Between tubes
You
and
know,
stents
I
and...
probably would have to say it's been close to that, yeah. And, you know, a procedure here, a procedure there. And then of course, he was on kidney dialysis as well, because the kidneys shut down in Cleveland. Fortunately, they were able to do that in staggering, so that they could see if he was able to jumpstart it and then get him going again, which, thank God that happened. But he had, I think, 3 or 4 treatments of the kidney dialysis. Yeah, it's just been a long.
2013, the year to forget.
So,
We'll never
how
forget.
is insurance handling all of this? I mean, are you...
According, if I remember right, and obviously my book is at home, though she's getting lots of bills in the mail. I think they cover like 80% of a lot of it. But our first bill for Cleveland Clinic alone was $750,000. That combined, you know, you take 20% off of that, and then we still have the second visit to Cleveland, which we haven't got, and then UPMC, and then Select.
Twice.
UPMC twice, and then Select twice, and now here, that 20% is more than what I've made my entire life, you know, that I'm gonna have to pay, or we have to pay. Our savings is gone. Business checking account's empty because I'm not there to run that part of the business.
I shut down the studio that I own a studio. Mike is disabled from an accident that he had many years ago, but he helps me with the studio work so that I can get that done. But when all this happened, I've been shut down since April, so there's no income coming in from what we normally have. Any band and playing experiences as musicians that we would have done obviously haven't been. So it's eye-opening. It's overwhelming.
It's very
It's
eye-opening. Something has to change. I can see why the bankruptcy rate is so high for people who have medical problems. This has to change. I mean, we don't want to lose our home. You know, we want to be able to buy groceries. We want to live like everybody else. I don't need to be rich, I just need to be able to live. But when you have to pay all of these people,
And it's
This-
not that we don't owe these people.
oh yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, my God, they saved your life.
Yeah,
I'm very happy to pay them whatever we have to pay them.
but
But
where'd you come
that's-
up with that kind of money?
But that's where the insurance is supposed to help, and it's like, it helps, but you're still left hanging with bills that you never, ever anticipated. in-
Like the transportation
in your life.
costs
Yeah.
to Cleveland and back, it's 3,000, well, I think it was over
It was over
$3,000
$3,000 for one.
just one way.
One way.
And we went twice, so that's 4 trips.
No, we went up, back, there to here to there.
Yeah, but it's not
there to
$3,000 in town,
here. No,
No. hopefully.
but, so there's five trips anyway.
Plus, there's all the meds and
All the meds,
everything else.
Yeah,
everything. It's overwhelming, and something that obviously you just don't expect. You know, nobody wants to think that there's gonna be that kind of problems when they get sick or when they have an operation or whatever, but if it turns in that direction, the last thing you wanna do is have someone that you love go through a near death or a death experience. You want that person with you. You love that person. You don't want anything to go wrong. And when things just keep going wrong, and then you know that you don't have a choice. This person means everything to you. Do whatever you have to do to make this person okay.
and you don't think about the cost at that point.
You don't care. You don't
No,
want.
I don't
you
think
don't
anybody
want to
would.
focus on any kind of cost. But when it actually starts coming back at you after the fact, and things
The phone
are
calls
doing
start.
better, and they start. It's not that you don't want to take care of those bills, but then they start. Well, we need this payment by, but I haven't got any money coming
I
in
haven't
right
had
now.
any
How am I?
income.
How can I? I'm glad to pay you as soon as I start to get some income coming back in. But now, don't forget, I not only have your bill to pay, but I have this one and this one and this one and this one and this one. I have to divide what I do make between all these people. It's gonna be a very minimal amount per month that I'm gonna be able to afford to do for a while. But that's just
while?
gonna have to work.
For a while,
And then some of them are.
till the day we die.
Yeah, that's it. Some of them are very willing to work with you, but others are like, well, you know, you have X amount of months to get this
Or we'll turn
paid.
you into collections.
And
Okay.
then when they do that, then the collection's gonna add a fee on top of that, of
Sure.
course.
Oh, yeah, sure, they want their cut. Yeah, it's gotta change.
It's gonna change.